Well, let me tell you what the games get you. The games get you fines, they get you tear downs, they get you into a lot of trouble.
This is Elegant Homes with Don Reilly. Each week, get expert advice from Don Reilly that's straightforward, making sure you're not taken advantage of. Powered by CFI and by Marshall Chevrolet in Carrollton, Kentucky.
Welcome back to another episode of Elegant Homes. I'm your host, Don Reilly, where we make every home elegant, one home at a time. And we are looking towards the future for Elegant Home Exterior. A lot of exciting things happening in our world right now as far as the home improvement industry. One of the big problems we're having, though, is materials. We're having a rough time with COVID-19. It's really put a hurting on the manufacturing end of things here in the business. We're keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that this thing's slowly fading away. Hopefully we'll have these manufacturers that will catch back up with the demand of treated lumber and some of these composites out there. And you know what is funny? We're not really having a lot of problems with finding composite material. It's just getting our hands on them. They're taking a little longer because the manufacturers, people, instead of getting treated lumber, are switching to composite. So you can't get treated lumber, but you can get composite. But the problem is now everybody's doing the composite because they can't get treated. It costs a little bit more to do the composite, but it's taking longer to get it because now they're running out of composite. So it's really creating a whirlwind effect in the home improvement industry. So a lot of contractors are scrambling and buying up everything they can buy up. And that's really changing the game for us a little bit. Not only here at Elegant Home Exterior, but I talked to some of my friends in the business, and these guys saying buy up everything you can because these materials aren't lasting on the shelves. So you go into your typical, Menards, maybe even a Home Depot or Lowe's, you don't see the treated lumber on the shelves that you did 5-6 months ago before COVID-19 hit. So these are things that we're concerned with. Was we prepared for this? Absolutely not. Are we taking steps to make sure that this doesn't happen again? Absolutely. And that means, preparing to buy skids of materials instead of, just buying one deck or package or a composite package. So working with the manufacturers to put aside materials for us, particularly for our customers. So there's things that we're doing that I've been talking to manufacturers that we can try to, make sure we get our hands on material, but it's still hard to find that, that Hyde Park lumber or that McCabe lumber to solely set stuff aside for you. But the good thing is we've been around for a few 24 hours, and we got a lot of guys that like us, and we've built that rapport, and we pay our bills. So the nice thing about it here at Elegant Homes, if we can't get it, we will get it. It might just take a little bit longer. So instead of being 4 to 6 weeks, it might be 6 to 8. But most people are pretty understanding about that. So if you do good work and your work stands out, most people are willing to wait for it. So I tell people all the time, the wait is definitely worth it because we're going to do your job, and we're going to make sure it's elegant as always. And that's our goal here at Elegant Homes. One of the things I want to talk about today is, we'll get off the negative with COVID, and I like to stay positive about everything. Not so much that it's a negative thing, but this COVID's really put a damper on inspections also out there in the field. A lot of municipalities like Boone County Courthouse, these places, they're behind because of, COVID-19 also, so they're trying to play catch up. And a lot of these inspectors don't want to come out and do these inspections. So guess what? Guys know that. Our competition knows that. So they try to play what I call games and get around that. Well, let me tell you what the games get you. The games get you fines. They get you tear downs. They get you into a lot of trouble. And I'm only telling you this because I want buyers to understand that if you don't pull permits for these particular projects, you could have problems down the road. One of the things that I always stress, if you don't pull a proper permit and you go to sell your house 10 years down the road and you didn't permit that, well, they're going to find out at the courthouse that you didn't permit that in the selling process. Well, they could come back and charge you fines and penalties for that. It doesn't always happen. And some people, they don't do their due diligence when they do the prep work for selling the home. But I always say, make sure you protect yourself. Also, always get lien waivers from contractors. Most contractors are not savvy when it comes to paying their bills. So what happens is a company comes in and does your deck job for you, and they sell you a deck, and they put the deck in, they do a great job. Well, guess what? The contractor doesn't pay ABC or XYZ company for the material. 3 years go down the line. He files bankruptcy. You get a letter in the mail says you owe us $6,800 for your deck package. You're like, what? Wait a minute. I paid the contractor, $20,000 to do this deck. Well, somehow it got swept under the rug. Contractor didn't pay his bill. Maybe he had an ongoing revolving credit account with the manufacturer or with the particular outlet store that he was using. He didn't pay his bill. He filed bankruptcy 2 years later. He was making payments on it. Now they're coming after you because $6,800 wasn't paid for the material package that he bought to do your job. Always get lien waivers on jobs. I always tell people that. When I am done, I give you an Elegant Home Exterior packet. In that packet has a BBB report from Elegant Homes. It also has a lien waiver report that tells you that my material was paid for. It has a stamped paid receipt from my supplier. And also it has a completion certificate stating that we completed your job and you're happy with the project. That is the proper way to do it in the home improvement industry. That protects you, the homeowner, and it protects me, the business owner, that I paid my bills and your bills are paid. So if any time you call me and say my materials are not paid for XYZ company, I can pull your file, open that folder up, and pull out that paid receipt from any company in the city that I use, supplier, and say, look, this bill was paid on March 7th of 2020. That protects you as a homeowner, and it protects me as a business owner. Smart, smart, smart. That's why I do this podcast. I'm educating you, the buyer, and I'm educating, hopefully, some good contractors out there listening to this show. So in 22 years, to get inside my head, I've gone through all these scenarios, so I know how you should address these problems, and a lot of times they become bigger problems because people don't do their due diligence. Now, we are getting smarter as consumers. We're getting smarter as companies. A lot more people are doing due diligence because of computers. We've got a little bit more savvy today. Computers have really changed the game in the home improvement industry. I mean, I remember back in the early 90s when I first got in this business, you'd go into a home and you carried everything in the home, window samples, all. Today, I can walk in your home with a tape measure and a laptop, which we usually do, or we use a tablet, and I can show you products right on the web, and I can measure everything, write it down. I can be out of your house in an hour with a signed contract and ready to do your job within 4 to 6 weeks. Well, right now, 6 to 8 weeks. That's what I'm trying to tell people is computers have really changed the game and how we do this business. I think that customers have become aware of who they are doing business with because they do check the Better Business Bureau, and I'm always a big advocate. Do your homework, check BBB, Angie's List, Google reviews, check out who you're doing business with. It's so important today because a lot of home improvement guys are running their business off shoestrings. It's not good. You need a company that's financially solvent. It's going to be there, and they're going to be there for a while because if something goes wrong with that job, I've owned this business since 2011. So you want to make sure that you know that we're going to be around if something goes south on your job. Guess what? And if I'm not going to be here, our manufacturers, we have contracts with them that they'll stand behind the product. Maybe not the installation, but they will stand, Owens Corning, big one that we do a ton of roofs with. They'll stand behind their shingle for a lifetime as long as it's installed to their specs. And what I mean by that is we install every roof to Owens Corning specs. We use synthetic felt paper. We use snow and ice guard. We 6-nail everything. If we do it to their specs, if you have a problem with that roof, if you have granule loss or any of that, they'll come out and replace the roof for you. So once again, I tell that story, and I kind of got off on a tangent there, but the reason I tell that story is because the consumers are much smarter today than they were back in the 90s. When I'd go into a job in the 90s, they never asked where your office was, or, they didn't ask you these type of questions. Today, people already know where your office is. They know how many employees you got. I mean, they've already done their homework, and they know what your company's about. And guess what? That's good for guys like me. That's bad for guys that are what they call fly-by-night guys, because those guys don't have a chance of selling that job, and because people's already scouting them out, and no one's going to look you in the eyeball and say, hey, I've scouted you out. You don't look like you're a very reputable company. I'm not doing business with you. They're just going to let you do your spiel. You're going to go away, and you're never going to hear from them again. So that's the way that happens. And but I'm glad that consumers are much more educated today in this business because, and like I said, computers and stuff technology has really changed that game. And, a lot of announcements in the home improvement industry. In-home visits aren't going to be as sought after as they were. People are doing business online. I see there's companies out there now that you go put your measurements in, and they figure your job up before you even get there, and they don't even have to look at it, and you already got a price. I mean, Eagle View, for example, whoever dreamed that I would not have to get on a roof and measure a roof? I can take your address. If you live at 1006 Smith Edwards Lane in wherever in the country you live, I can take your address, I punch it into my Xactimate program, which takes me to a program called Eagle View. Eagle View satellite direct puts a satellite on your house by Google and zooms into your house and gives me every dimension of that roof within 20 seconds of me putting that into my. So I can tell you if your house has 22 squares or 42 squares. I don't even need to pay a visit to your house. So let's just use an example here. If your roof's 22 squares and I know you need snow and ice guard, I figure your budget of, say, $2,000 for what I call accessories, and then I figure your roof at $300 a square. Right now I can tell you that 22 square roof is going to cost you $7,000. That's installed. That's without even paying you a visit. Now, Elegant hasn't got that far yet, so we do use Eagle Views, but we still do a field measure just to check. A lot of guys are missing things on that because here's an example. You do an Eagle View, the person wants to do West Coast Valley. They don't want to do metal valleys because they don't want the maintenance of painting those valleys anymore. Well, guess what? Now you got 4 valleys with 1.6 square of shingles in each one of those valleys. You figured 22 squares. Well, guess what? You're short. So you just figured your job about $1,000 less than what I would have met, because I went out and did a field measurement after I got the Eagle View. So I know that there's 4 more squares there that wasn't figured into the job. You don't, because you're doing it off of the satellite and just sending the guy out and doing the roof, right? So now you just ate 4 squares of shingles, which are very expensive. That's the difference. Now, I don't know how you overcome that, folks. So I always say we're going to have to field measure at some level, and that means that here at Elegant Home Exteriors, we have a gentleman that does that. So if I figure up your roof and it's 22 squares and I do all that, I'm going to still send him out. We're going to go ahead and get the contract and land the job, but he's still going to go out and field measure that before I deliver the material, so that way I don't eat 4 square of shingles. Because if I give you a price and I come out and I'm 4 squares short, I can't go back to you as a homeowner and say, you know what, Tommy, I really like you. You're a nice guy, but you owe me $1,000 because I mismeasured your roof. So, but that's what happens, folks, in the home improvement business. It happens every day. And I am doing this show to educate you, the homeowner, on how to stop this and stop it today. We need to stop this in the home improvement industry. A lot of people getting it taken advantage of. It's not right. It's not fair. It's not equitable. And it has to stop. And that's why we do this Elegant Home Show. As smart contractors, we want to show you the ways to educate you, the consumer, to, and also, like I said, we welcome all good contractors to listen in, because this is going to change your game too. So you're going to know things not to do. They're going to know what to look for. So these are things that help all of us get better in the home improvement industry. And at the end of the day, we're all just trying to be good quality people and do good quality work. And that's the thing that I always say is, if you treat people right and you do them right and you're always upfront and honest with people, you're always going to win at the end of the day. I don't care if you work 40 hours a week or you work 100 hours a week. If you're always upfront, of course, I always say the workhorse wins, but if the workhorse is honest too, he's always going to win. He's always going to come out on top. And I've always lived my life that way, and it just seems like it always works out. It's the guys that take advantage of the system, try to cheat the system, try to take advantage of the homeowner, weasel their way into this, weasel their way into that. Those are the guys that never seem to stick around for a long time. And we see it day in and day out. And being my producer, Tony, we talk about it all the time, that these guys are the ones that we got to get out of the business. And slowly but surely we're seeing, it's funny, in the early 90s, I seen a lot of those guys in the business still. Today, I don't think those guys there's not too many of them left, because they've either went out of business or other companies have forced them out of business or bought them up, because, it's hard to survive in this kind of, and I'll put it this way, it's hard to sustain business working off a shoestring. You have to have capital to run a successful home improvement company. And also you have to have the fortitude and strength to overcome a lot of the things that are put in front of you as a company. And a lot of guys today don't have, if they're a shoot in the pan or a fly by night, they're not going to deal with these issues. They're going to run, right? It's like a scared cat. He sees a headlight come out, he's running. Same thing with these fly-by-night guys. They don't stick around too long. And that doesn't mean that we're better or, it just means we're doing the right things. And I was talking to a customer today. He was telling me, he said, it's so nice to have a company that explains things to you, and they're not bullying you and say you bound it, beating on the table and say you got to buy tonight or nothing else. He said, I felt nothing but comfortability with you guys since day one, since you did my project. And this gentleman was about 80 years old too. He's an older gentleman. He said he's been bullied his whole life from home improvement companies. And he said they always want to do business right now, or they never can think about anything. And it was just so nice to hear that from an older, from his generation. And he said it's nice to see that there's still good people out there doing good business. And that meant so much to me as a homeowner, because not every day I get to talk to the homeowner, because, I got guys out there doing this and selling it. But usually I'm putting out fires and, trying to keep the customer happy. And sometimes that's a challenge. I tell people, well, we can please some of the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all the time. And as a business owner, as a successful business owner, and as an entrepreneur, our job is to make sure that you, the end customer, gets what you want. I always say, find out what a customer wants and give it to them. And that's our whole goal here at Elegant Home Exterior. And also we want to educate you. So we're hoping this show was enlightening today. We're hoping that you get a little bit of a glimpse of the good and the bad of the home improvement. I could call it the good, bad, and the ugly. That was a great show, by the way. But anyway, these are things that I always tell people, make sure you do your due diligence. And I say that all the time on the show, because there's so many people out there that just purchase things and they don't look at the fine print. And at the end of the day, it's the same way with contractors. If you don't pick the right one, sometimes it can lead you down the wrong path. And we just did a commercial for our business about a week ago. And one of the things I said in the commercial was, this particular commercial we were doing was about golf. But I say you get one shot to make that perfect putt, right? But you only get one opportunity to pick the right home improvement company. And that is so true, because if you pick the wrong one, it can be a bad experience for you. And we see those bad experiences all the time. So we'll be right back. One of the things I like to talk about is my guys over at CFI. They are some of the best when it comes to carpet installation, linoleum, ceramic, maybe even you need that new tile or hardwood in your home. These guys are the best. I always recommend CFI because they do a quality installation and they always show up on time, and they're always very courteous to me and my wife at our home. If you're looking for some of the best guys in the installation business, look no further than CFI. These guys are the best. You can reach them at cfiinstallation.com. Once again, that's cfiinstallation.com. Also, you got to stop out and see Rob and the gang out there at Marshall Chevrolet. These guys are great. If you're looking for that new Equinox, maybe that new Chevy Silverado or Trailblazer, stop out and see Rob and the gang out there at Marshall Chevrolet. They'll really hook you up. They got a great service team. They'll get you in, roll you out, and make sure that you tell them Don Reilly with Elegant Homes sent you.
You're locked into Elegant Homes, powered by CFI. For all your flooring needs, cfiinstallation.com, and by Marshall Chevrolet in Carrollton, Kentucky.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Don Reilly, where we make every home elegant, one home at a time. I love talking about these situations because these happen a lot. And I was talking earlier about inspectors and making a customer happy. So I was on a job today. I actually went on it last week, but the customer called me today. And they want a 16 by 10 pergola built in the back of their house. And this particular subdivision they live in is pretty nice neighborhood. And you have to have permits. And there is an HOA involved. So you got to, send paperwork to the HOA. So the customer says, hey, this pergola spans 16 feet long, and we got 3 posts in the front. In my center window, when I look out at it, I'd love to not have that post in the middle so I can have a free shot to my backyard and just have 2 posts in the back and 2 posts in the front. And I said, well, I doubt we can do that because the span is over 15. It's 16, plus you got a foot overhang on both sides for your little roof that we're putting on. So I doubt the inspector's going to, allow us to do that. So I said, I know these guys at the building department. Let me call them and get some answers for you. He said, I love it. Thanks, Don, so much. So call the inspector up, which I know personally. Won't mention his name. But so I call him up, and we get to talking, and I tell him, I've got a 10-foot by 16-foot long pergola we're building out of treated lumber. We're going to put a little roof on it. This person wants to enjoy their back door patio. And we didn't pour the pad, so another company did that. So we're just building the structure. And if you know anything about aggregate concrete, so they poured a nice aggregate concrete pad. It's like 12 by 20. So we're putting a 16 by 10 pergola on top of that, and we're attaching it to the back of the house. So the inspector says, well, let me look at the code book and find out what the regulations are, but I doubt we're going to be able to remove that 3rd post unless you put an LVL beam in, which is becoming a big thing today. Now, if you know anything about laminated LVLs, first of all, they're expensive. So an LVL, you'd have to get a 20-footer. We'd have to cut it. So you're probably talking $800 to $900 just for that one beam to just relieve that post that being in the center. Most people aren't going to do that, but this guy's not your typical homeowner. So as soon as I told him we could use an LVL, he's all excited. So he wants us to move that center post and put that LVL in there so he can have the visibility in the back. So he'll just basically have 4 posts. He'll have 2 end posts with, now everything's sitting on footers. So I marked off on this before the concrete guys came out. I measured everything off, and I put my 5 concrete piers marked so they could pour 30 inches below the grade and pour it with concrete, and then pour the concrete aggregate patio over top of that. So everything's sitting on a pier. So he's actually, if we eliminate this and do an LVO, he's actually going to have 1 pier that was poured that we won't even be using. And all that's going to do is add strength and durability to his patio, which would be really nice. So long story short, if we eliminate that, we put the LV in, that LVL is going to carry the load of this particular pergola. Now, keep in mind, people don't walk on pergolas. These are just structurally for cover or shade in your back patio. Now, some people just slat them out with 2x6s or 2x8s, and then they dovetail the ends and make them look real neat. This particular guy wants metal roofing on his, so he wants it actually covered so the water just runs off, so he can sit out there in the rain and in the sunshine and not get the weather hitting him, which doesn't happen very often with pergolas. Most people want them open. This is just a simple request from a homeowner, but once again, if you take care of the customer, guess what? The customer is always going to take care of you. And once again, Elegant Home, we strive to make sure that all of our customers are happy, because we want that referral business, right? So this guy, if I take care of this, just moving this post and doing what he wants to do, who do you think he's going to call when he needs windows or siding or gutters or a roof on his house? He's going to give us a call here at Elegant Homes. If we did that for every homeowner, we would be flooded with referrals, and that's what we do, and that's why we stay so busy with referrals. And if I could teach every other company how to do that, and if they would listen to you, they could have ongoing business for the rest of their life also. So, and that's what we strive to do, is just make sure that we got those repeat customers coming in. And we've been very successful at doing that since 2011. And all I ask is one thing out of the customer: if we do a good job for you, let other people know about it. And it works out every time. So hope you enjoyed the show today, and we're looking forward to talking to you next time. I'm your host, Don Reilly, and this is another episode of Elegant Homes, where we make your home elegant, one home at a time.